Oops, sorry. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. If you can, please take your seats. So we are boarding for this important session in European Parliament. So welcome, everybody. I'm Marco. I'm going to try to moderate today. I see so many people around, so I guess it won't be so easy today because you are many and many opinions, but also the topic is very interesting. As President Juncker said in 2016 State of Union address, announcing the creation of the European Solidarity Corps, he said, "We often show solidarity most readily when faced with the emergencies. When the Portuguese hills were burning, Italian planes dozing the flames, when floods cut off the power in Romania, Swedish generation turned the lights back on, when thousands of refugees arrived on Greek shores, Slovakian tents provide shelter." In the same spirit, the Commission is proposing today the set of a European Solidarity Corps. We've been waiting for the legal basis, and just a couple of days ago, we got also the proposal for a European Solidarity Corps. Today, we're going to discuss them. Before we start discussing them, I would like to invite Udo Bullmann, who is also Vice President of the S&D Group in European Parliament, to welcome you and give the first opening remarks.
Thanks very much, Marco, and welcome to all our guests today. I have to admit I'm totally smashed by seeing so many committed young people in this room. Thanks for coming. I think the file deserves our attention, and you already, by being here, demonstrate your interest in a new European initiative. This is excellent. So again, welcome to our seminar of Socialists and Democrats, born within the Cultural Committee. Silvia and Petra are responsible for that, chair and coordinator. Thanks to all colleagues having prepared this event organizationally, and thanks to our guests on the panels, of course, very much from our side. When President Juncker came forward September last year with this proposal, we had already for quite a while discussed similar ideas within our party group. We were permanently searching for a new start of how we could boost European identity, especially for younger people. Of course, we know about the successes of the long-standing Erasmus programs, and you may know that we as a European Parliament are fighting year by year the budget line of Erasmus and other programs to increase, to let more young people come into the situation that they make profit for their lives and profit for their personal career and profit for their European experience by participating in these exchange programs. And some of you will also know how difficult it is to get into and to get finances done for your personal planning, since you know that this is not fully financed by the European Union. You have an advocate in the European Parliament for strengthening these kinds of initiatives, and you especially have an advocate in Socialists and Democrats. So Juncker's initiative is welcomed by us because we think this is a grand idea. It's a grand idea to make it possible for more and more young people to go abroad, to go to other European countries and do something useful. The idea is to commit yourself either to NGO, local authorities, social work initiatives, to contribute to the reception of refugees by working in respective institutions. All of that is very much useful to the development of our societies. And this invitation for until 2020, giving the chance to at least 100,000 young people to make this experience is something really, really great. You saw that immediately thousands of young people have reacted to that and have said, well, I am waiting for that. I would be a volunteer. I would like doing that. And this approves the idea in itself. What is the attractiveness? What is the attractiveness of doing that? Well, first of all, you go Europe. This is a chance. Wherever we have debates about the future of the European Union, you saw that in the United Kingdom, you're seeing that in France before the election day, you're seeing that in Germany, in Italy, all in the other places. It's the young people that defend the European idea. It's the young people. You have a right to make their personal experiences and not to get fooled by those who are hostile to the European development, hostile to the European integration. So it's your right, it's the right of your generation to defend your chances making new experiences. That means go Europe. It gives you the chance to live your values, because if you commit yourself to this kind of work, then you are doing something useful. And you, thirdly, can make European experiences, you can make new friends, you can make experience with new languages, so you can train yourself. And I do not expect that whoever gets involved will buy a disadvantage for his or for her personal career. In all good ideas, sometimes there is a but. What do we have to watch out for? Good ideas have to be implemented also in a good way. What we would not like to see is, for instance, the replacement of ordinary jobs. We are knowing that these fields of activities very often take place in underpaid areas of social work, in underpaid areas of professional work. So we should be able to distinguish what is a volunteer, what is a professional. Do we have decent working conditions? Is this, at the end, not only a good idea, but is this also a well-organized implementation? Or do we replace, crowd out normal activities, which of course cannot be the purpose of an initiative like that? We have to ask ourselves, who is watching the implementation? Not only what is the legal base for it, but also who is responsible for controlling that it is implemented in a way that satisfies fully all our expectations. We as the European Parliament normally think, and this is our experience, it's much better that the parliamentarians have an eye on it, and it's much better that the parliamentarians have a say on the conditions of how the initiative is going to be implemented. And last but not least, who's going to pay for it? Is this a very luxury project where you have to have somehow parents that invest in you, otherwise you cannot afford going there? Is it a decent salary which you will receive once you are fully professional and once you have to work in these new fields of experience? So all these questions have to be clarified. And of course not. We will accept that Erasmus or other useful areas of existing programs will be exploited to finance the initiative. So of course we need somehow also fresh money for what we are talking about. Otherwise we will produce failures. And that would be very sad given the grand new idea being possibly so helpful to strengthen our European identity. Allow me only to touch on certain numbers of questions, but these may be one of the most decisive ones. You will have in this seminar the occasion to go in depth with your discussion. You will be able to describe chances as well as possible hurdles, obstacles, dangers of the initiative. I wish you well. I thank my colleagues for having that excellently prepared and organized. And I think, thanks very much, we need more of these kind of initiatives. And now, Marco, it's your turn again. Thank you very much.
Thank you to you.
Okay, before we go back to the first panel, just a little bit of introduction how today will look like. Let's forget about this slide, that's me. It's not so important. It is important that maybe you can share the web stream to your colleagues who are not in this room so they can follow what is happening. Also the note to the speakers at the panel, if you're speaking, speak on your left microphone, so that's good for the camera. We encourage you as well, yeah, it's strange request a little bit, but that's it, that's how it goes. The Twitter, as you can see, you can use that one. And finally, everybody says in European Parliament we are trying to make it more interactive. So again, today we're going to try to make it more interactive. And how it will work. I know all of you in this kind of 3-hour session spend a lot of time on the phone. So we decided to use that activities on the phone. And we introduced a new activity over here. So you will be asked exactly to vote on different things. So how it's going to work? Just a moment, I don't have assistant over here, so I will need to do everything myself. So just a moment. Just a moment. Full screen. Okay, so take your phones. Now it's fine. It's okay to take your phone in the moment. You take the browser and you go to menti.com. And then you put this code 848389. If you are not connected to your 3G phone, there are instructions on the paper how to connect to the internet. Yeah? So the first, I just put very stupid question to start. Test question, how do you feel today? So there are some people, 36 people say great, 21, just 25, just great. I have a fever, 13 people, so it's great that you are motivated even with a fever in this room, listening about European Solidarity Corps. Thanks for asking, but please leave me alone. 11, it's growing. Let's see after the session, people get more optimistic or pessimistic, and exciting to hear and discuss about the new program. So it's also great that most of you are into this mood. Let's go for the next question that is maybe more connected to the session today. I see you're already having fun. So the next question is, which institution you represent today? The options are European Commission, you're a member of European Parliament, or MEP, you're a political advisor in the EP, you're coming from the youth NGO, maybe you're coming from volunteering NGO or NGO working on volunteering issues, European umbrella NGO, university or school, business sector, or other. Can we see who is in the room? I see many MEPs, but where the youth organizations are not having the phones, smartphones? No? No? Okay. As we can see, we have a quite good representation today. For example, 8 people from the European Commission. Thank you very much, European Commission, for coming. We expect some nice answers from you today. I guess people are coming with a lot of questions. Some of the members of the European Parliament, political advisors who've been preparing this session as well. So that's not just happening. Aha, youth NGOs are having phones. That's great. Youth NGOs and the volunteering NGOs, we expect some kind of input from your side. And the last question for this test phase, before we get really to the panel, is, does your organization institution use EU programs to promote solidarity in Europe? Frequently, occasionally, rarely, never, but planning to. So, is your organization or institution using EU programs to promote solidarity in Europe or across Europe? Okay, so we can see that the most of the people in the room already using this program, so that's great. So we have a lot of expertise in the room to discuss European Solidarity Corps. So thank you very much for this first part. We will come back soon to some other questions as well. Now, finally, we are going to the panel. I'm going to stop speaking. And I would like to welcome first Petra Kamembers. She is our cult chair. Then Silvia Costa as well, member of the European Parliament, cult coordinator as well. Two of you have been very active on this topic, especially in the last period, and also some other things like Erasmus+. We already met several times here. Then we have Marcelo Maurizio. He's vice president of Lunaria, is Italian association with a lot of experience in EVS. Then we have Gabriela Civicco, coming from the European Volunteer Center and working a lot on volunteering issues and lobbying here, especially in Brussels, that volunteering is more visible in the institutions as well. Sophie Eriksson is the head of unit of DG and especially responsible in this case for the European Solidarity Corps. Those people are going to be discussing the first panel. The first panel is about experiences of EVS and related to the European Solidarity Corps. Here, very short story. When I become a Secretary General of the Youth Organization, I arrived to the office. I had two EVS volunteers. And it was the first time I met with this kind of program, but they were a little bit lost. They didn't know what to do. I need to support them. I need to do like this. Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. You should tell me before, just do like this. So I didn't know what to do with them, like language support, like management support, and so on. I got lost equally like those volunteers, these poor volunteers got lost in Portugal. So I realized that EVS is not just throwing people to another country to do a volunteering service, but it includes a lot of different things. So maybe this experience is useful also when we speak about Solidarity Corps. It's not just throwing people to another country or their own country to do promote solidarity, but much more. So, Petra, can we make some introduction to this first panel, and I will then introduce later on the space for discussion. Please.
Yeah, thank you, Marco. And I want to speak in German, so please put your headphones on if you're not capable to listen in German. And I will wait. Yeah, sehr geehrte
Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I would like to thank Marco for once again leading this debate. He already did this during our meeting on Erasmus+, and I'm sure that once again he will be presenting this session in a wonderful manner, and we have already seen this at the beginning of this debate. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm also very pleased that the S&D group, my group, is having the first big meeting on the European Solidarity Corps here in Parliament, and we are going to debate the Commission's proposal. The European Parliament's proposal from April and the first debates with Commissioner Navracsics and Oettinger have already made it very clear that the Parliament is in favor of the idea of a European Solidarity Corps. We welcome this initiative. However, it is important that this be implemented adequately. The Culture Committee has concrete ideas on how this is to be done, and we have already outlined this in the resolution which we have adopted in Parliament. The baselines are outlined there, and we have done this before the Commission's proposal, so as to give the Commission some idea of the direction in which we would like to see this initiative move. Now, if we look at the two texts, the resolution of the European Parliament and the legislative proposal, we can recognize without any difficulty that there is still a long road to be taken until we can say, in the end of the day, that we have reached a common vision of the European Solidarity Corps. We also want to find the right way to implement the European Solidarity Corps. When we read the text, we can see that some of the stakeholders, some of the organizations which take part in this, must go through a process of recognition before they can become members of the European Solidarity Corps and before they can recruit volunteers. We have heard that the first volunteers have already been sent out to participate in their programs. The question then is there a type of system to move from what there was to what there will be? Is there a way to move forward quickly for the organizations, for these organizations who want to recruit volunteers? However, if there must be this certification procedure, much time is lost. I think that we should not waste this time, and therefore there should be a form of transition, adequate transition. Furthermore, there should also be a charter. This charter does not appear in the text itself yet. This would be a charter which organizations would abide to when they take part in the European Solidarity Corps program. And this charter, according to the text, should not be discussed at a parliamentary level. Rather, it should be worked on by the Commission later on, and then it should be presented to the public. I don't really know how this is going to take place. I'm not sure this is the right way. Udo Bullmann has already mentioned that parliamentary participation is important. Therefore, we should also bring NGOs on board, and together with them, we should draw up such a charter for the European Solidarity Corps. However, we should not let too much time go by until the program can really be launched. Furthermore, it must clearly be stated what is understood under a solidarity measure. We must clearly outline what voluntary engagement means, and this must be differentiated from work. The occupational strand in the program is going to play a particular role. This is going to be a balancing act. There is going to be a broad spectrum of activities covered, and at the same time, there must be a differentiation between the different occupational or voluntary activities. Udo has already stressed that voluntary participation in these programs cannot be a replacement for work or for traineeships. We are going to work on this legislative text, and as chair of the Culture Committee, I also stress that we must work on this text in depth, because it is a comprehensive text which is going to give us a solid legal basis for this program. And a solid legal basis is what is going to enable this program to become a true success. In the midterm, I also have a question. Why not a Solidarity Corps under the Erasmus Plus program? This is something that we don't want to see. I think it would be possible to have the European Solidarity Corps under the Erasmus Plus program, just as the European Voluntary Service. Perhaps in this beginning phase, we should think about this when drawing up the legal basis. we should think about the next program phase and about the possibility to re-implement the Solidarity Corps program under the umbrella of Erasmus+. I haven't thought about this in depth. However, this is something which we could discuss. After this brief introduction, I would like to move on. I hope that there will be a very animated debate, and I hope that many ideas will be generated. I wish you all a fruitful session. But please also excuse me, I'm going to have to leave a bit before time. Many of you know that I'm very committed to this issue, and everything that is going to be said here today will reach me afterwards. Please rest assured. And I will be considering all of your comments. I wish you all a very fruitful debate with many interesting thoughts, and I hope that afterwards in Parliament and also in our debates with the Council, we will be able to generate a program which will not only be a good program, but a program which really is going to lead to success in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra. Some of the questions that you raised up were about certification, about the charter, definition of volunteering, and distinction between volunteering and for example, job placements, and relation between Erasmus Plus and Solidarity Corps. Silvia Costa.
Thank you. Welcome for everybody. I'm very happy that our group, together with a group of AMP committee, decided in S&D group to have this meeting so early after the presentation of the regulatory by Commission. I profit also of these fantastic interpreters to pass to my mother tongue, this Italian. Sorry also to be very clear and more precise. And so I ask you to wear your headphones. Thank you.
I believe that we are faced here with a proposal which we welcomed, as the chairman of the Cultural Affairs Committee just said, Petra Kammerevert, and as Udo Bullmann said before her, we welcome this very important announcement at a moment of great difficulties and an identity crisis for Europe. But to aim at young people and to aim at the work of associations and support solidarity actions is something that we welcome. We think it's very positive. So I would like to welcome the fact that finally we are going to focus a lot more on the Juncker programme. And in the Juncker programme, we're going to concentrate on young people and their volunteer work. That's something that we've neglected in the past. We had a lot more funding in the past for Erasmus+, and then there was we'll ensure that there'll be more support for the European voluntary service within Erasmus+. So we're looking forward to that. But certainly, as has been said, because we feel that we shouldn't make any mistakes, and because we don't want any confusion in the implementation, we can't allow the European Solidarity Corps to be created in a rather confused and chaotic fashion. We need to know what the aims are and what the structure is to be. So we don't want there to be any mistakes. We're very pleased that a lot of people have turned out for this meeting. You work in the field. You know a lot better than we do how things actually work in reality. I thank the European Youth Forum. You've been a partner in this initiative. But I believe that today we need to work with you and have an exchange of views and ask all the necessary questions. I thank Marco. I think he's going to be a very good moderator of this debate. And now, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I won't start describing things because you've all read the text of the draft regulation. We were lucky that that was presented to us as soon as the College of Commissioners adopted this proposal for a declaration. So the Commission was very quick in sending it on to us. So we share one goal, which is to promote citizenship, which is active citizenship in favour of solidarity. And we also want to have a European added value within this European Solidarity Corps. The word core, well, here I'm a bit more cautious about the words. This isn't a European civil corps, but it's a body which brings together young people, which offers young people aged between the age of 18 and 30 the opportunity to volunteer and show solidarity. That there are some concerns. Some of our proposals in our motion of resolution on the volunteer service have been taken on board, and we've actually had 20 years of experience with the European Volunteer Service. Unfortunately, not all our ideas were taken on board, but what we have to focus on is that this initiative has to involve a big appeal to the member states, so that the member states will adopt national legislation, so that there'll be a framework, a stable framework for volunteer activity in all the member states, so that young people can volunteer in their own member states. At the moment, we have a rather fragmented approach. Some member states don't offer volunteering opportunities to the young people, but what we want to have this joint framework of opportunities with a European added value. That's our intention, whether you're working in another country or whether you're working locally in individual member states. There should always nonetheless be an opportunity to work together with young people from other European countries, and we want to involve European associations. So this is the sort of style that we want to maintain. I agree with what Petra was saying, on particular on this transitional period. We have to clarify that, and then we have to learn from the experiences of the European Volunteer Service, and I ask you to help us here. And another important point, this is a good opportunity to get a cooperation between the European level and the national agencies that will be involved in volunteer work. And we also looked at the certification system. I think this European Youth Pass will be very important. We needed to actually check which skills have been acquired by the young people while they have been volunteering. And we need some sort of ex post assessment of the experience, but also we want to work through the associations. The associations need to pay more attention to the hosting and less attention to sending people out. So it's a question of bringing together the associations, and they are promoting solidarity work and solidarity actions. Then we need a list of applicants, candidates, and we need to bring together the European Volunteer Associations on the one hand and the list of volunteers on the other. It also has to be clear that when it comes to selection, that there has to be inclusive selection. Yesterday we put forward a pilot project, European Volunteer Service for All. This is a project involving 5 countries. They're carrying out an experiment in the field, bringing together different national associations so that they can allow their youngsters to work together. But what we need is an inclusive approach, so that those from less well-off backgrounds, not just people with degrees, but those people with enthusiasm should be able to take part. Another important thing is to look at the cross-cutting approach here. We won't cross-border projects. We don't just want to support national projects which are only within one member state. And as Petra was saying, we need to draw a distinction. And I think Mr. Benifei and the colleagues from EMPLE, we need to have a clear distinction between the Solidarity Corps and the Volunteer Service. I'd go further. When you're talking about civil service or Solidarity Corps or Volunteer Service, you have to be very clear. In my view, we should only be talking about non-profit organisations and social associations. As far as I'm concerned, from my own experience in my own country, which we've shared with many others, the idea of business or a company, no, that's outside the profile. But I'd ask for your opinion on that. So we also need to clarify what a job means on the one hand and employability on the other. In Italy, the youth guarantee is used within the civil activities as well. It allows people to acquire skills, but it's not a real job. But no, this is an issue that the second panel will look at. But I think we do need to have a dialogue about the difference between a job placement on the one hand and a volunteer placement on the other. And I think we have an opportunity here. This proposal talks about the 28 member states, and the EVS talks about all countries that are in the Erasmus programme. And plus there's the possibility of having experiences as well in third countries. And that is based on bilateral agreements, which will be a bit cumbersome. But anyway, we need to clarify this. I can understand that gradually we could open this up. And of course, we're in a transitional phase at the moment. At the moment, it's only 28 member states. And then on the basis of various agreements, it might be possible to extend this. What does it mean from the organisational point of view? Well, perhaps we'll ask the Commission to explain what it means by this in greater detail. Another point that's being neglected a little bit is the work that is done in order to ensure that you can achieve awareness of what volunteering actually means in the EVS. So there has to be agreement, first of all, between the sending associations and the hosting organisations. That means that you have to create an internationalisation of cooperation between associations. So that preparatory work is necessary, preparatory work in the field where you're sent out, but also when you come back, the person coming back needs to be able to do some volunteer work in the country they return to, so there's some sort of feedback. So that person who comes back from a volunteering experience would then become proactive in their own country. So it's not just a question of this certificate and the youth pass, but we need to take into account the experience that the volunteer has had, or that we need some sort of real recognition of the experience that has been gone through. And we have to see that as a part of the whole social development and personal development of the persons. And then the final issue is funding. For Mrs. Kammerevert and I, funding has been a crucial issue. We take note of the fact at the moment the funds from 2018 to 2020 are 191 million euro taken from Erasmus Plus, which is of course the war between the poor, and 25 million from other sources. We've asked the Commission to clarify this. We've asked Commissioner Oettinger, who is the Budget Commissioner as well, and we've been told that for the time being, this is how it is at this point in time. But we hope that as of 2020, there'll be clarity as to where the funds are coming from. And then there's a problem of moving from the EVS to the Solidarity Corps, and to understand what we're going to learn from the EVS, which we can then feed into the Solidarity Corps. And on the other hand, what are the things we might lose in this transition from the EVS to the Solidarity Corps? Now, I hope we'll learn from today's meeting. We also need to know who we're talking to. There's no doubt that the Charter is something that has to be discussed with the NGOs. I think there's going to be discussion of the Charter and its principles with the network of European NGOs. But we need to have clearer ideas in the Parliament because we're co-legislators, and we need to have a broad debate. We're creating the foundations here for the implementation of European citizenship, and that's something of great importance to our committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sylvia. Some of the things that you mentioned is like how to put in practice active citizenship. Again, some relations between European Volunteering Service and European Solidarity Corps, recognition of and assessment of the skills gaining during the, for example, mobility, funding that we're going to work later on a little bit. That's also was our strategy today, that we put the funding in the end so that you all stay in the room. So that was also, because I guess many of you are very interested in this topic. But before we move on the panel, as I promised before, we're going to get again your phones if you are not having them in your hands. So let's go again to check additional question to see if you have checked the legal basis and document coming from the Commission. So we want to check if you read that. And we start now with more provocative questions. Is European Solidarity Corps an old initiative in new packaging or a true response to the new challenges? Tricky question, huh? So the offered answers are, it is just a sum of old initiatives. It is true response to the new challenges. It is both. I'm not sure. And there is another one. We will find out during this panel. Voting. Okay, so we have the majority of the people answering. It might be both things. It's a little bit less now. Or it's just some of old initiatives, a lot of people answering this. Or we have some of them also responding that it's really addressing new challenges. So it means you have different opinions, and obviously we choose a good topic today for the first panel. And let's go for the last one, for this. From your experience, the European Volunteering Service, EVS, is successful action inside the Erasmus Plus program. We are still in the EVS, and people abstaining today. Yes, fully agree. Yes, I partially agree. It could be better. No, I disagree. Or I'm not sure. Yeah, so between it could be improved or yes, I fully agree that EVS was successful. We move on with the panel exactly to see what are exactly the experiences of EVS that could be used maybe for European Solidarity Corps. And we have Marcelo Maurizio. He's, as I introduced him before, he's coming from Italy. He was very active in the EVS. Marcelo, can you tell us something about EVS, your experience, and maybe exactly in the relation to the European Solidarity Corps?
Okay, thank you very much for your question, and thank to the group to have invited me to this meeting, which is actually in the right moment, in the right place, of course. And it's an honor also to be here to share with you my personal and my organization experience in EVS and International Voluntary Service in general. Just a short introduction so that you can understand the perception I have and the perspective we see this dynamic, this new stuff going on. Lunaria is not a big organization in Italy, but is very keen to be in networks at local level, European level, international level. We were there in '96 when the European Voluntary Service was launched as a pilot program. We were supporting the European Commission in training and supporting the organization, capacity building activities, and the volunteers, pre-departure and trainings for volunteers. It was almost 20 to 21 years ago. In the meantime, Lunaria started working with a huge network that actually today can mobilize and involve 50,000 volunteers every year. It's the Alliance of European Voluntary Service Organizations that is member of the European Youth Forum, of course. And we met this morning to discuss from our point of views our different positions on the proposal and understanding each other on the different ideas we have. And in the same time, we do grassroots work. We work directly with volunteers at local level in Rome, of course, where we have our national headquarters, but with our clubs in Italy, where our active volunteers support volunteers, young volunteers, applicants, interest people to organize local activities of solidarities and of protection of heritage, cultural and environmental heritage with work camps. And of course, we foster solidarity within young people and youth in general. This is why we welcome the European Solidarity Corps as idea, as a concept, as a path for the future. Nevertheless, I will contribute to the discussion with some critical issues, because, of course, if the idea is good and the moment is necessary to have good ideas to foster European identity, we find some weak point. We have some concerns, starting from how we work and how we were using to work with EVS. The fact that the voluntary service was inside an educational program such as Youth in Action and Erasmus Plus has a meaning, of course, because the European Union recognized voluntary service as a pool, a gym, where young people could foster meta competencies, civic competencies, and could contribute to the benefit of the local communities with their contribution. And the link with between EVS and the other actions of the Youth in Action and Erasmus Plus program was very interesting, because it was very understandable for the young people and for the youth organizations like mine to understand the dynamic you can have in training, in voluntary service, and maybe, why not, in some kind of mobility for employment, because it happened with the Grundtvig. It was another program, but we were able to host workers from other countries with European programs in the past. So somehow voluntary service was recognized as the most important informal learning setting, and the non-formal education really supported the EVS to rise quality. Of course, EVS shouldn't be defended as it is. We see the comment there, and it's clear that somehow EVS has failed, even if the impact was huge in local communities and people. Maybe it failed because the volunteer was too much in the center of the project. Maybe we create a bubble. This is one of my ideas. Inside a bubble where he was protected, trained, educated, and somehow supported even in the smallest thing. We want young people to be more proactive, and this is why the core seems more fitting with this idea. Give to Europe what you can, and don't expect that Europe will give you something for granted. No? On the other side, EVS was very good as a first mobility program for disadvantaged youth, for economical and social backgrounds, for example, or others, while the core doesn't seem so fitting with this target, because in the proposal itself they speak about skills, experiences, and so on. More than half of Europeans are disadvantaged. They don't speak another language. A lot of people is not going to university. The rate of university students in Italy is 15–20%. So somehow we will lose a lot of the EVS capacity to involve if EVS will be cancelled, as it seems so. On the other side, we see also the youth work, that is this link between the voluntary service, the training, and the civic participation of young people in their country and in the receiving country, as something that's created a real European new generation of workers, youth workers. The European Commission proposed us 20 years ago and more to increase our quality in supporting young people, and we did. And thanks to European Commission program, European Union activities, we were able to exchange a lot of experiences, but the youth work was meant to support the inclusion and the social cohesion of young people and the active citizenship as well. According to the proposal, this is, again, is not present. Youth work is not considered at all. Where is the quality here? Where is the impact of the competencies? Okay, there is some reference to the certification and validation, but actually without a real support, people cannot gain this awareness about the competencies they had during, and they developed during their experiences in Europe. The same goes with the new system that is very well described in the proposal, the new system of placement, that apparently leave aside the standing organization, as Silvia Costa already told, so I won't repeat it. But youth work is a process, is an open-ended process. It's not a one-shot experience. And we fear that the core could represent a one-shot experience where the lottery of picking up the right CV will leave alone the people waiting for the magic wand that will allow you to get this small fund to go in Berlin to study or work. Another critical, and I will close, the job chapter. We don't understand it, actually. We try to understand why a job placement for 7,000 people a year for 3 years will be an answer to the crisis of... Sorry? Yes, sure. But I will. But this is why because from the perspective of voluntary service, it's somehow So no, I won't go in the detail, but for employability was a new issue in Erasmus+, and for us was a challenge to tackle this. Employability, we understood what employability can represent for us and for our young people, our young volunteers. The capacity to make treasure of their experiences, to bring it out for the project, while the Corp seems to be an employment service that is really different. So this transition is really delicate. From our point of view, they are very, and also the cooperation pattern. Sylvia already told, organizations in the last 25 years, youth organizations worked a lot intensively. We have the first generation of young people that already worked with colleagues in other countries. With the Corp, this disappears apparently, because there is also only the receiving organization and the volunteers as actors of the game, while the EVS added the triangle, I think you know, no? The sending organization, the receiving organization, and in the middle, the volunteers. This is also crucial in terms of intercultural understanding, because a Finnish volunteer that is coming to Italy really needs a support before arriving in Italy, because it can be shocking to live in Italy for my friend in Helsinki. This is true, because but I know my colleagues in Helsinki, of the Helsinki municipality or the Alliansi network, no? And we can work step by step together to support this volunteer in his process. So I will close here. There are a lot of stuff to do. The Youth Forum is doing a great job. We will follow and support their campaigns to have a better European Solidarity Corps. And thanks again for inviting me here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just to remind also the speakers, we are running a little bit out of time, so we can keep brief. So we are now inviting Gabriella Civico. She is the Director of European Volunteering Center. You've been working also on volunteering since 2010, if I'm not wrong, also on the policy agenda for volunteering in Europe. So how, for example, this document can be connected to the European Solidarity Corps? Is there something interesting there about, for example, quality of volunteering and that can be used in the European Solidarity Corps?
Thank you, Marco. Yes, working in volunteering since about 2010, but volunteering since about 1980. So that would be the record. About quality, I think there's quite a lot in the proposal about quality. For us, the main thing now will be to look how we move forward, and also to the detail in the program guide, I think is also going to be crucial to this. I think it's very clear in the legal basis proposal and in all the discussions that we've been having that quality is very important. That quality is very important. What I think we need to have a clearer understanding is what we are measuring in terms of quality and what we understand in terms of quality. And here we have, I think, a very nice opportunity to compare and to assess and to analyze what had been going well with EVS and what perhaps could be improved with EVS, and where actually we want to go with this Solidarity Corps. My organization, the European Volunteer Center, is a network of volunteer organizations, volunteer platforms, support agencies across Europe. We are not limited to the youth field. We're not limited to youth volunteers, and we're not limited to volunteering in the youth field. We support and promote volunteering for people of all ages and in all sectors and for all purposes, on the basis of solidarity with people or communities that might need the assistance of others. From that regard, we see the European Solidarity Corps as an opportunity to strengthen volunteering as a whole within the EU, and to strengthen the idea of expressions of solidarity as a whole within the EU. One of the concerns that we have had about EVS is that perhaps the question of quality and the question of impact has been focused too much on the young people, on the participants of EVS, on the volunteers within EVS. And we hear very much about the volunteers within EVS as being the beneficiaries of the EVS program. What we would like to see with the European Solidarity Corps is that the beneficiaries of the European Solidarity Corps are the people in need in Europe, are the vulnerable people, the vulnerable communities that the members of the European Solidarity Corps can assist. In this case, the members of the European Solidarity Corps will be young people. But for us, we would like to see this as an opportunity to shift the focus between a program that assists young people and rather more a program that assists Europe, that assists needs in Europe, where young people can participate. I don't know if this is clear, and maybe it's a slight shift, but for us it's a very important shift. And then if we talk about measuring quality, we really need to look at what are we going to measure in terms of the impact of these young people, members of the European Solidarity Corps, whether in a volunteering placement or whether in an occupational placement, what will be the impact? And we would certainly like to see how the measurement of the impact is going to be inbuilt from the very beginning. One of the unfortunate things that we've had about EVS, even with its long history, is we don't have proper records, even in terms of how many people, where they've been, what they've done, and what has been their impact, at least not easily accessible. No, I mean, very simple questions that we can ask about EVS and about volunteering in general, because we didn't have the software, we didn't have the mechanisms, we didn't have the processes in place. If we can really build in now the processes in place to understand what will be the impact of the European Solidarity Corps, it will be much easier to build up an evidence base about what will be the impact of this core, and when it's reviewed in future years, we can really see. And that is, I think, how we need to look at quality. How will the European Solidarity Corps connect also with existing NGOs? We really absolutely would not like to see some entrepreneurial people, if we can call them that, some entrepreneurial organizations creating themselves and establishing themselves as hosts for European Solidarity Corps. We really want the European Solidarity Corps to support the existing organizations that are working day in, day out, week in, week out, in solidarity with the others. With EVS, we saw this, where organizations were created, were invented, exist only with EVS volunteers. They don't have local volunteers. This, for us, is a pity. It's a missed opportunity for helping the local community also to understand what is happening with European programs in terms of volunteering, and also a missed opportunity for young people who participate in these programs to really make this a life-changing experience and something that will encourage them to be engaged as active citizens for the rest of their lives. We welcome very much in the new proposal the opportunities for in-country placements and the opportunities for free-time volunteering. This was really a limitation under the EVS that we have now, is that it was only accessible to people, young people who were available and or willing to travel to another country for a fairly long period of time. One of the opportunities we see about the European Solidarity Corps in being able to access, particularly for younger people with fewer opportunities, that they can take placements in their own country, also in their own free time, making everything much more accessible, much more flexible, and importantly, much more responsive to needs locally and needs in the community, where you don't have to mobilize and move people to different countries, where you can really mobilize the people locally. We would like an improved focus on the wording, the use of the word volunteer in the proposal. At the moment, I think we only refer to volunteering in terms of the full-time volunteering in another country, and the other opportunities under the volunteering strands have different names. We would like a more universal use and understanding of the word volunteering, for example, talking about full-time volunteering placements, talking about group volunteering, and talking about free-time volunteering initiatives, and really putting volunteering in the word for each of the three types of opportunities under the volunteering strand. We think will really improve quality because it will improve the understanding of the organizations, of the people involved, of the local communities, that this is all volunteering, but just in different types. We wouldn't want people to start to think that volunteering is a full-time occupation. It is not. And this has been perhaps one of the mistakes as well of EVS, that there are certain organizations, certain groups, certain communities who think that volunteering is a full-time occupation, that you get all your costs covered and you get pocket money and you get your food and accommodation paid for. Most of the volunteering in Europe does not at all look like that. Most of the volunteering in Europe is done in people's own free time, often investing of their own resources. Finally, I think we are short of time. There's many more things to say, but certainly in terms of quality of volunteering, the essence of volunteering and the essence of acting in solidarity is people giving of their time, giving of their skills, giving of their competencies, giving of their energy without an expectation of a return. And I put the emphasis there on the word expectation. Yes, all of us who have volunteers have all gained tremendously in many things, whether it's extra languages, travel, new friends, new experiences, all different competencies. But when we are volunteering, we're not doing that with an expectation. And this is something that we want to be very clear in this program. EVS as well has slipped into a bit more of the young people who are participating, focusing very much on their own expectations for themselves about the program. And this has become a weakness in EVS. This, we hope now, shifting to the European Solidarity Corps, will be the moment where we can shift back to. We are participating in the Solidarity Corps to give, to be empowered, to support people who are less vulnerable, who are more vulnerable than even we are. And for a young person with fewer opportunities, this can be an exceptionally empowering experience when for the first time you are giving. For the first time, you are not just expecting people to find solutions for you and to solve all your problems. For the first time, you really feel that you can be useful, that you can be empowered, and you can really give. And if we can put this idea of giving and solidarity at the center of the European Solidarity Corps, and that young people are not participating with an expectation, a first and a primary expectation of receiving, then I think we will do very well to making a really quality program that's good for the European Union, it's good for the expression of European values, it's good for young people, it's giving more opportunities for them, and it's supporting the idea that active citizenship for solidarity with others should be and can be a part of every European's daily life. So through the European Solidarity Corps, we hope that this will become more a reality. From the European Centre, of course, we are ready to work on, with the Parliament and with the other stakeholders, on the proposal, on the programme guide, to making sure that these questions of the implementation of the programme really can have the impact that we want to see.
Thank you, Gabriela. Thank you for input. Then, I would suggest here maybe is a time for some first reactions as well. Sofia, you've been listening things about volunteering and especially some of the questions that come up now. Maybe some questions will come also from the audience, but some of the things that are maybe highlighted is what is the relation between EVS and European Solidarity Corps? Is it the same or it's different? Is it repackaging or it's rearranging or it's completely new? What about the definition of volunteering and something that Gabriela was speaking in the moment? Some of the other things that are important is a charter as well for the European Solidarity Corps quality. Can we get some first reaction from your side, and then I'll come finally to you as well. I'm sorry for a little bit delay. It's because our speakers are taking a lot of time, but I guess take your notes and you will have a space later on. Please.
Thank you very much, and thank you for this very interesting feedback and suggestions that the panel has delivered. I will do my best to maybe highlight some crucial points. I'm sure there will be ample opportunities to discuss further. Maybe first a comment on the separation Solidarity Corps Erasmus+. I think it's really important that the intention is here to put a very political emphasis, a political priority, EU's positive agenda. We want to see this has the biggest possible visibility, and it should be a sign really on Europe's support and belief in that we can do more for young people and in solidarity activities. I think we can see this, we should see this as a positive way and not as some kind of a discussion with or without Erasmus+. I think Commissioner Oettinger, when he was here in the committee, he even started, it's maybe the new era of an equivalent important initiative as Erasmus+. So I think we could start and see it in this way. Secondly, I think it's important as well, and we have touched upon many issues on transitions and how will it build on EVS and so on. It's important to remind that we are still in the first phase of the Solidarity Corps. We believe it's the best way is to launch the Solidarity Corps as quick as possible. That's why we put forward already initiative, or the first part in December. But the idea is to gradually build up the initiative. So it means that if we talk about those who are now deployed, they are operating or they are being deployed under the first phase, which means that they are, we rely on the 8 existing or the 8 underlying programs that support this first phase. Of course, when we are now discussing the new package, where we're entering into the second phase, we have our draft regulation, we have the modalities, we have a dedicated budget, we have a new set of coherent activities. Of course, there must be a transition phase. And this is important that it has been highlighted, and we have to do the best to make sure that the transition phase, first of all, is the shortest possible. And secondly, we have to find a way to, I would say, those organizations that are already part of the current programs, we want them to continue to have easy access, but we also need to find, during the transition phase, some kind of easy access for newcomers. And this we have to discuss, and I think that how to do it, we will do it together with stakeholders. It was also what both Commissioner Oettinger and Commissioner Navracsics said in this committee, that they would like to have a continued dialogue with stakeholders. It's a clear dialogue on many of the implementing modalities. So if we are looking at what we have now, we have already a charter which sets the basis for what should be the minimum quality criteria for placements. You will see in the regulation we propose to be more specific on to develop a quality label. And I would say that how to design such a quality label, how it will work in practice, this is part of our work now, to think of these implementing modalities that will then help us do such transition quicker. So that is my second point. Then I think some of you also highlighted the role of young people, the role of organizations, the role of communities. I would say that already building on what we did under the European Voluntary Service, we never saw, the intention was always to look at both how we can provide young people with a real learning experience, also building their employability, and at the same time help organizations and help communities. This approach, you will see it's well set out in the proposals. We want the 3 levels of support to continue to be very prominent. The young people themselves, we want them to have a learning experience. We want them to give more opportunities. Organizations, they should continue to have or should have even simpler access. But this, of course, will have also ultimately a positive effect on the communities. I think you also mentioned the role of the different parts that we can say we build on, which was very positive under the European Voluntary Service. And one of these aspects are the sending and the hosting organizations. I think we completely take the point that we need to have some kind of support services before a deployment and probably also after. This is part of, if you look at the proposal, we have, especially for the occupational strand, we look at the post-payment services. And that's exactly the idea. We need some kind of support services, especially when it's cross-border, which happens not only with a hosting organization in a different country, but we want some sustainability. And for that, we need some support service or support organization. The question, and that's we need to look at together, which organization, who will do this? There we can discuss, obviously. The same thing, a good example of how we build on what is good practice under the EVS. It's the Youth Pass or the certificate that we foresee under the European Solidarity Corps. I think we have quite some good practices on using our resource centers, or the SALTOs, as we call them, based in our national agencies. And they really help in this work on documenting and validating skills. We even have a European recommendation that should also help in this work. And you will see we have proposed the certificate to be delivered after a deployment, and we propose a specific resource center that will also have the task of supporting this process. So I think that's important to highlight. I think a last point, my list is very long, but I think a last point, not to lose too much time, it's the what you mentioned as well, important to have a broad inclusion of diverse participants in the Solidarity Corps, an inclusive Solidarity Corps. Again, I can say we can build on what is very positive from the European Voluntary Service. We know that we have managed to reach out to the non-typical groups, but I think we can do even better. And we have tried to, not only as we have in the current Erasmus Plus program in general, that we provide additional financial support, that is one part, but we wanted to go one step further in this proposal and also look at the format. What kind of format will have the tendency to facilitate for the non-typical participants. So that's the reason why you will see activities which are not only individual and cross-border, but also group activities, activities in country, short-term activities, and also this what we call the solidarity projects, which are more usually in country, but are there to for participants themselves to take the initiative and design their own projects. I think I'll stop there because I don't want to. Okay. I'm happy to come back to other questions.
Thank you, Sofia. Before we move to the next one, I want to pick up some reactions from the crowd. But don't make a question, just something that is connected with EVS and the scope of the program. I got already 2 candidates. So if you can just present shortly yourself, maybe you can start first. Shortly, please. Just reactions.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elisa Briga from the European Federation for Intercultural Learning. Our members run volunteering abroad programs, also through EVS. 2 comments. One, there is already a quality charter for learning mobility. It's been just drafted, revised, let's say, because there was one in 2006, and now it's just being revised by the partnership between the European Commission and the Council of Europe. Now they are drafting the indicators, and I'm part of the expert group. So the charter is there, and EVS, when it was drafted, was one of the programs taken into consideration. So I would really call taking into account the huge work that has been done by experts in a process of 2 years, and not to reinvent the wheel. And there's also been a public consultation with stakeholders. So stakeholders have already been involved. And the second point is sending organizations. I agree with the Commission that we need support, also with Silvia Costa and Marcello from Lunaria. The support must be given by sending an hosting organization, not by some other support or resource center. Organizations sending and hosting, existing organization, I like to stress what Gabriella has said, that we don't have to invent new organizations. There are plenty of organizations, they are grassroots, and it's important that the volunteers that engage in the core, they come back to communities where they can volunteer, and sending organizations are doing this. So we really have to make sure this element is strengthened.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marguerite Potard from the World Organization of the Scout Movement. So in Europe, the scouting, it's close to 2 million of young people, 400,000 volunteers involved on an almost daily basis, as I have already said many times. We welcome very much the diversity of the actions as mentioned by Gabriela, and the fact that the volunteering is not anymore, finally, not only supported as this full-time volunteering. But we would like to see even more, because we know that in Europe there are millions of young people, and we are trying to tackle here a program touching upon only, and we are not even sure we're going to match this number, but only 100,000 young people in 3 years, which is not a lot. And I believe that the European Union needs to be much more ambitious in its objective. You have been including aspect of networking, and you are even including in your introduction the mention that there is at the moment a fragmented volunteering policy in Europe. We need to go in the direction that every country, every member state need to have a proper volunteering policy in volunteering programs. So I would like to see a bit more ambitions into this program, ensuring some coordination and policy changes in Europe. I think we have already mentioned sometimes the policy agenda of volunteering in Europe. Those recommendations need to be implemented and need to be explicitly mentioned in the legal basis as the proper objective that the European Union should tend as a coordinated way to ensure that all young people can get their competencies recognized when they are doing volunteering, not only in the EU program, but also outside the EU program. So in this way also, I would really love that you consider having not, again, another youth pass which is not very recognized and not very successfully impacting on the life of young people, but ensuring that this is better integrated in a recognition of all volunteering competencies acquired in different volunteering organizations. Thank you.
Thank you. You can give the applause also to people in the audience. Now, we just got nice news from the European Parliament, so we can stay a whole night here, so I can take another reaction from the crowd. Yes? Briefly, please.
Yeah, don't worry. Tobias Kirk from the German National Youth Council. I'm a representative of around 6 million young people in Germany, organized in our structures, and a lot have volunteer services within. We had a long discussion whether we find this program, this new idea, good or bad. So I'm not really sure what to say now. I heard a lot of double structures, double ideas we already have. We have the EVS, we have programs fostering occupation of young people, so this is nothing very new. I see some chances as well, because there is a quite clear focus on strengthening a sector which is very important to us, the volunteering sector, and to putting more money in it. That's quite good, and I would add something in this point, because we were left out of developing the program, and it's still a problem. I think in the legal base there is no structure how youth organizations, how civil society can participate in steering and managing the program. So if you can implement co-management structures or anything like this, it would be really good, and I hope the Commission will react, because if not, you lose, I think, at least in Germany, a lot of organizations which are very keen to help and to be solidar in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, a lot of ideas of already using existing frameworks, existing tools, or existing, I would not say using existing organizations, but cooperating with the existing organizations that are implementing solidarity activities. I will come back to the audience later on. Of course, we are late, but I'm not telling you that you need to cut your speeches for the, let's say, second sub-panel. We're going to speak more about something that was already mentioned in the first part of the panel. Besides volunteering, European Solidarity Corps also includes, for example, job placements, and also the traineeships as well. So we're going to speak a little bit about this part of the program. According to the current proposal, it should be around 20% of the budget, so very relevant for us. But before we ask our panelists what they think about this, I'm going to ask you to take your phones again, because we're going to have, again, the next question. From your experience, traineeships and job placements are good tools to promote and work on solidarity matters. Yes, I fully agree. Yes, I partially agree. I can see the connection. I disagree, or I'm not sure. Only 2 people voted. Come on. We are in the European Parliament. Okay. So we got some people who say that they disagree, but also equal number of people say, yeah, I agree, or I partially agree. Thank you very much for your voting. I would like now to invite Brando Benifei. He is also a co-chair of the Youth Intergroup, but also very active in the Youth Employment Initiative. So what is the connection, for example, between youth employment issues and European Solidarity Corps? Please.
Well, as you mentioned, the Youth Employment Initiative, obviously I just have to say I hope and I will work so that the Youth Employment Initiative will not be drained to fund something else, including the European Solidarity Corps, because I think it comes very clearly from the discussion that there is a big issue also on the funding that has been, because it's, I will try to make some considerations and also focus obviously on the issue of the occupational and the job strand. I want to start with the public consultation results, because on one hand, my assessment is that any initiative to strengthen solidarity, to maybe put more effort and resources on this field is to be supported. I feel I'm quite in line in what was said in the last intervention from the panel, from the public, from the representative of the youth forum, I think, of the German, of the Federal Youth Forum of Germany. The public consultation gave us some quite clear messages that I must say they quite resound with what immediately, like after Mr. Juncker has presented the idea in the plenary, with the European Youth Forum, with the youth of the unions, with some other organizations, we proposed immediately as a letter to the European Commission with the youth intergroup that I chair with other colleagues. And so it seems that our immediate reaction was quite in line in what came out from the public consultation, because what came out as worries, as issues were the overlap with existing programs, the need for additional funding, the fresh money, the need to assure an inclusive approach, the need to assure quality, the need for clearer definition of solidarity activities and a clear division between the strands, and the need to build synergies and experience from existing well-functioning schemes and also well-established organizations. This came out in many of the also interventions today. In my opinion, the proposals is not very much following fully these kind of indications. It came out also from this discussion that probably our role of co-legislators must be used at the fullest, because it seems to me that there is no still clear commitment, although in the stakeholders meeting, the Commissioner Oettinger expressed a clear commitment for fresh money. We still have to be convinced about this. There has been a lot of enthusiasm for the fact that 30,000 young people have already signed up, but we know that signing up is only few clicks. Then we see how many will accept offers, and also we know that, and this is the worry of many of the organizations that are also being consulted, and I know of some of those that spoke today also, that the risk of the frustration of young people that register and might never get a real opportunity, and also the issue of the unclear selection procedure and the unclearness of the timing. So I think it's important that we really get in depth into these issues, because we know clearly, again, from the consultation, that there was no real request from the civil society, the existing ecosystem that we are now meeting, to have a solidarity corps. This came as I said, as something that I think we have to convey positively as a way to strengthen the investment on solidarity, on volunteering, on these kind of activities. And so I must also regret that the fact that with the fact that the ESC has been launched and activated before the legal basis was published, some money has been used, and this also politically constrains a bit the European Parliament and our legitimate reason to for discussing and amending the program. But we will work on this, and we want to be positive. I wanted also to be frank and clear on the issues that I see are still problematic, because, as I said, they are quite in line with what also we immediately posed to the European Commission. I want to stress especially three things. One is the issue of the having the fresh money. I work a lot on the youth guarantee and the youth employment initiative. I don't want that to be drained in the medium term, when we will rediscuss also the future budgets, the post-2020. We need to have a clear commitment on this. The issue of the division of the strengths regarding volunteering and working experience. In my opinion, it's still not totally clear in the text that we have now, and I will say also why. And also the issue of giving more value of involvement of the local existing initiatives. This came out clearly already from those who spoke earlier. When we talk both about volunteering and job placement and traineeship, we have already established organizations, and we need to have some more clarity on how we will assign the quality seal, the quality label, because it's not clear on the regulation what are the criteria for releasing it by the European Commission or by the national agency, and also the European Solidarity Corps Charter that must be subscribed is not very detailed still. So I want to focus, as there are many things, but many has been said, on the issue of the job, of the work, occupational experience and the volunteering. I think we should strengthen a bit the issue of quality, which is present regarding training, language support, administrative support, the insurance, but there is not a clear reference to quality jobs or quality traineeships. So it seems to me that the risk is that we concentrate on the quality of the services, but not on the assessment of the learning objectives and the outcomes in terms of employability and future activity for the young people. This is clear, unfortunately, also on the evaluation, because on the evaluation there is a lot of quantitative reference, number of participants, 100,000 young people, opportunities under the ESC by 2020, but I want also to understand the social impact, the adherence to societal needs of the projects and the impact on young people, the quality of proposed activities, and the assessment of ex-post job placement impact, because otherwise we will not have quality for money. And as I said, I think the main worry here is that we put money in something that, unlike existing activities, existing projects, might prove not to be at the same level of quality, of efficiency, of results. So we need to be very careful in assessing all of this. And then when we talk about the occupational and volunteering division, as I said, originally it was presented as two separate, clearly separate strands. At least that's how I understood that, but also in the public consultation it came clear, but in the regulation it's not clearly divided. To be more precise, there is no clear definition of what entity organizations offers what type of activity, so there is some still risk in our opinion, in my opinion, also consulting with some realities on the ground of space for abuses with these formulations. The risk is that there is even some shopping around by organizations that offer placements for the action that will get the most funding for them. Also, some things I wanted to say were already mentioned, because they are, in fact, the risks of confusion between the two strands. So they were partly already mentioned. The issue of what is the full-time volunteering. I think we have to understand better what is the meaning, because it's otherwise it gets confused with the real job. And also, when we talk about the activities like the solidarity activities and the group activities, how they are going to be organized, because the proposal doesn't give a clear definition of the solidarity activity. It gives us the areas of policy activity, of possible activities, but there is no reference to a solid definition of types and nature of interventions that can be proposed to the young people. For example, when we talked about the risk of confusion with the enterprises, with the businesses, is corporate social responsibility activities by enterprises eligible or not? What kind of offer in this case? Job placement or volunteering? So, and how do we ensure the quality assessment of the solidarity nature of the offered activity? So these things brings me to the fact that, again, I also think that we need to combine the direct access, the single person accessing, with some building up on existing structures, on existing sending organizations through the existing programs like the Erasmus+. I want to be very clear on this. I'm not against the fact that people can directly register and participate without passing through intermediaries. But I think that we should not completely erase the, especially if we look at this as in the medium term as something that will englobate the existing European voluntary services and eventually other employment, so to stay on the occupational strand, employment programs in a way that is depauperating on the existing experiences. I think this is the biggest challenge, to make a balance on this, to be able to promote direct access, but also create efficient utilization of existing experiences. Also, as a last thing, I think that both for volunteering and for the occupational aspect, I think we should defend the possibility of having local projects that we must define how to enrich them in terms of European added value. But I think that for the reasons that especially Gabriele has been saying, it's important that also we allow people to not take a long time and go away for a long time for far away projects, because we know that the reality of many young people is not that they are in the possibility of doing that. And we don't want to just say, but we will have a lot of resources to support this. We are happy if this happens, but we must be at the same time realistic and be able to give some possibilities for people that want to stay on the ground. So again, involving existing organizations can provide also for local experiences the European added value. That is obviously crucial, because we want to put that into a program that needs to be funded by European money. So from my side, these are my main observations, but obviously I'm available for continuing discussion later on also with the...
Is it working? Okay, it's working now. There is no applause, no? I mean, people are preparing speeches for this. Also, to read the legal basis, 60 pages, is not easy to prepare for such a session, so don't forget to award as well. Now we're going to move to other two guests at the panel. We got one order in the beginning, but I'm going to change it because Ignacio will need to move earlier, so I will start with him. Ignacio Doreste Hernandez, coming from the European Trade Union Confederation, working on the youth issues. Exactly, it's clear why you are in this panel. How do you see the connection between let's say, the job placements and solidarity matters. What is your organizational perspective in these matters? What are the challenges, and how do you see European Solidarity Corps as a framework to have a quality, let's say, treatment of young people?
Thanks a lot. Well, first of all, a brief introduction to the European Trade Union Confederation, the ETUC. We are a confederation of trade union confederations at national level. We have 90 member organizations in 36 European countries, and in total we have directly more than 45 million workers affiliated to the ETUC. Well, first of all, the ETUC welcomed the proposal from President Juncker of putting forward the European Solidarity Corps in his speech in September 2016. But we have been concerned about the mixing of volunteering and job placement since the very beginning. We believe that there is a clear risk of substituting paid work by unpaid job, the way it is included in the legal basis. We have to take into consideration that the European Solidarity Corps is going to provide job placements and job apprenticeships, traineeships, and voluntary opportunities in sectors which have been affected by the austerity measures. I mean, this is something that hasn't been said before, but I mean, it's obvious that if we are going to, if this program is going to be used, let's say, to help excluded populations in Greece. I mean, the fact that these people are suffering, that is because austerity measures were implemented in that country. So at the end, it seems as if we are not tackling the problem from the very roots of it. The ETUC, we were against the existence of the occupational strand. Okay, since the very beginning, we were claiming against it, but we are also realistic. So it's in the proposal is going to be implemented, the two strands, the occupational one and the voluntary one. So if nevertheless, I mean, this occupational strand is going to be developed, we want, as it has been said before, quality frameworks for all the different measures which are going to be offered to the young volunteers, trainees, and apprenticeships and workers. So I think some colleagues have been mentioning some already existing measures, and that's great. We should also take into consideration that there is a quality framework for traineeships, which was launched by the Commission in December 2013, and then it was adopted some months later. We, the ETUC, we believe that this quality framework for traineeship is quite weak. I mean, it could have been much more ambitious, but at least it's something. Then here in the Parliament, and especially your group, work very hard on a quality, on a charter for quality internships and apprenticeships, and we believe that a lot of this charter can be used in order to guarantee that quality is going to be ensured for the different traineeships and apprenticeships. We, the workers, together with the European employee organizations, we are working very hard on putting forward a quality framework for apprenticeships. So for the pillar on apprenticeships within the European Solidarity Corps, we would like that this is respected. And then when it comes to the provision of jobs, it goes without saying that we want that, first of all, in those countries where there is a minimum wage, this minimum wage is going to be respected. Also collective agreements in the sector, but also sometimes in the organizations themselves. I mean, Caritas has a very good collective agreement. The same applies perhaps to many others, Red Cross International. So this is not included in the legal basis, and of course, I mean, the law is going to apply, but it should be reminded that these standards should be respected. We believe that one way in which the quality of the measures for the many different approaches, the quality of the outcomes, but as Mr. Benifei said, I mean, also the quality of the offers which are going to be given to the potential trainees, volunteers, and workers of this program. In order to guarantee this quality, we need a partnership approach. A partnership approach in which the voluntary and youth organizations are consulted, but also social partners. And there is not a single reference to that in the legal basis. And we believe that the trade union movement is going to play a crucial role in order to guarantee that there is not going to be any misuse. We are very concerned by this ad hoc definition of volunteer, which is being included in the legal basis. Actually, somebody who is volunteering 40 hours per week, it sounds a lot like a job. So we are extremely concerned about that, and I am very happy with the reflections on that topic, which has already been said in this panel and the previous one. I know that this panel is not about the funding, but it's somehow also interrelated. We are absolutely pro the idea of fresh money for the European Solidarity Corps, basically because we are extremely against the use of the funds of the European Employment Initiative for the European Solidarity Corps. For many reasons. I mean, we are working a lot since the very beginning of the launching of the Youth Guarantee on quality implementation of this policy and proper funding. We know that the Parliament is doing a lot on that as well, and the Commission. So now the fact that we have a potential loophole which is going to make these already scarce resources being weaker, we see this as a threat for the future, and then we don't see this as sustainable for the European Solidarity Corps as such. So we need fresh money. Also, we have to take into consideration that the Youth Employment Initiative is meant to provide support to the Youth Guarantee, and the Youth Guarantee has a clear target population: those young people who are neither working nor in education or training. So. And this is not the target population of the European Solidarity Corps. So that's another reason why we are very concerned by the potential mixing of this. And then, well, going back to funding, sustainability, we know that we are in the transition phase, but if you have a look to the available fund for this stage, it really looks like an exercise of patchworking, and for 2020 onwards, we would like to have a sound funding of this measure. Of course, for that, we also have to rethink the funding of the European project itself, but that's another debate. So, well, I'm open to answer questions and to participate in the debate. Thank you.
Thank you. We still have some people for the closing of this panel number one. So João Duarte Albuquerque, sorry if I pronounce it wrongly. You're the president of Young European Socialists. Can we also hear from your perspective briefly on job placements and traineeships inside the European Solidarity Corps?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for the invitation and for considering yes to be part of this event. To be the last one to speak on these two panels, it's a bit of a burden because a lot of the things that I had prepared have already been said. But the truth is that the concerns that we have regarding this document go very much in line of what has been discussed. We, of course, welcome the idea of strengthening and combining a new document and a new projects for what was previously the European Voluntary Service, or what can be perceived as the European Voluntary Service and all of its components, and to actually be able to create this European Solidarity Corps. If it comes to reinforce the current practices and what was already been doing, then we of course welcome it and we want it to be a success. But we share the concerns that have been just mentioned regarding the confusion that seems to exist between the European Solidarity Corps and the mechanisms to tackle unemployment, and especially youth unemployment. And if the Commission wishes to do so, as they have apparently been doing already in the youth employment page of the Commission, if they already want to include the European Solidarity Corps as part of creating opportunities for young people in terms of work, then we need to make sure that the conditions for work under this program are respected as such. This means that we would like to very much see considered that if traineeships are to be included and job placements are to be included, that we make sure that contracts are established, that these internships are not unpaid, that they do not represent, again, an opportunity for companies to have free labor, or at least a rotational labor market of young people that have no stability or no future. So this is already something that raises a lot of questions to us. And of course, we don't believe that volunteer work can be a replacement for a proper job. What are the concerns that we have? Especially 3 points. First of all is that I think that the idea of having 100,000 people until 2020 participating in this project is a small drop in the ocean of what could be achieved. I think it's very limited in terms of ambition of what the Commission could actually be aiming to. This, of course, includes that the second point, that the funding is, as it has been repeated over and over again, comes from fresh money and not from relocation of funding. I think it's very concerning to see that in the documents that there will be a redeployment for the 2018-2020 period of almost 200 million euros from the Erasmus Plus program. I think this is a disaster, to be honest. The Erasmus program is definitely one of the most recognizable programs of the European Union and one of the most important in terms of creating a sense of European citizenship, of identification from young people and of the European citizen generally towards the European institutions. So to actually decrease the funding and to be totally honest, it seems that at every opportunity that the Commission has to implement new programs directed to the youth, the first target is always to try to cut the financing from the Erasmus programs. It was like that in the Youth Guarantee in the beginning that we managed to successfully tackle. And the third point is something that it's already happening also with the Erasmus Plus program, and that we would not like to see happening or continue happening with European Solidarity Corps or with the European Voluntary Services as it is they are although very important, we have the perception that they are very elitist. The participation or the possibility of participation from young people is very limited. If we look at the statistics, we see the provenience of the majority of the people that are participating in the Erasmus programs and how they belong to middle and high and upper classes, and how the Erasmus program have not yet managed to successfully achieve the possibility of being inclusive and globally inclusive for everybody in Europe. So to actually underfund a new program like this that has a lot of potential, and to try to mix it with other initiatives that exist for work without having clear definition on what are the legal status for these new internships or traineeships, and to actually not being able to fully fund it, raises a lot of concerns to us. So we welcome this initiative, and of course that these concerns are also transmitted to the Commission, that this idea and these concerns are taken under consideration, because I think it would be a very bad start to actually go into a program without having these very definitions well set towards everyone, and to actually not being able to, or to miss another opportunity to have a very inclusive program. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Also in this panel we have Anita Vela, that's coming from the DG Employment. She is currently Deputy Head of Unity in the European Commission, Directorate General for Employment, Social Affairs, Inclusion. I suggest maybe we pick up a couple of things from the crowd, and then you can maybe react, because there are a couple of questions coming from the gentlemen on the left, but I guess there are some reactions from you as well. So let's open this panel here. We can take, let's say, around 15 to 20 minutes to have a discussion on, also including the first topic on volunteering, but also referring to the second topic as well. Okay, you can, if you want to speak, you can raise up the hand and I can put you on the list internally here. So I see already one person over there, second, third. So please take a floor, present yourself, and let's go.
So my name is Kwang Le from the Alliance of European Voluntary Service Organizations. I have a question regarding inclusion, because so quality and inclusion are two terms that come back often in the legal base. But how, especially regarding employment, how do you guarantee a fair field when young people just apply online and wait to be selected by the hosting organization, be it for volunteering or for jobs? How do you guarantee that people with lower education, more difficult profiles, will actually be offered a job? That's my question. I don't really see it happening as such.
Thank you. Please.
Hi, I'm Tommy from the French Youth Council. I will speak in French. It will be easier for me. Au niveau du Conseil français de la jeunesse, donc le CNAGEP, on a pas mal.
We are very worried about the programme, about the risk of confusion between employment on the one hand and volunteer work on the other. This subject keeps coming up. And also when it comes to the question of solidarity, which is a very broad concept, and this concept of job placements, this is what the legal base talks about. And when it comes to employment, there are various issues that have to be looked at, in particular this idea of placement. We get the impression that you won't really be helping young people to help get... We won't be helping them get jobs in Europe. There's a risk for the employers as well that they will choose the best candidates, and then the weakest, those who have fewest opportunities, who need this opportunity, won't be able to benefit. So there'll be an asymmetry of access, which won't help these young people get onto the job market. And as there's a lack of a negotiation of a working contract, there'll be no prior discussions because there's this idea of a placement. There's the risk that you'll be creating a parallel labour market for young people, and exploitation. And so I agree with the concerns and the worries expressed by the European Trade Union Confederation and other associations.
The person over there.
My name is Katarzyna Skolska and I'm representing European Students Forum, ARZ Europe. I just would like to make, maybe it's not a question, it's rather a suggestion. Maybe we should just make sure that we are not overlapping other programs, that all initiative and all programs, they are working to the same aim, to achieve the same aim, like to empower young people, but just to make sure that we are not working on the same things on parallel ways.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So I would like maybe here a short answer from Anita on maybe a couple of issues. I think very similar ones coming from the speakers as well from the audience.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm from DG Employment. As I was presented, we have been working with a core team across services. So together with Sophia and the colleagues on the occupational side of things, which is why I am here with you today. I think we all very much appreciate the feedback as well on the occupational side. Of course, the issues you raise have also been issues that we together have raised in of course, preparing and contributing to this proposal. So really, you pinpoint to very important things, but maybe I give you some feedback on some of the issues raised here on the panel first. So on the issue of division of strands, indeed the proposal does not even mention the word strand. I think this was more the narrative of the December communication. So we are talking about placements and types of placements, and there you have volunteering, you have a traineeship, you have a job. Of course, this does not mean that these placements should or are the same, not at all. So definitely it is, of course, important, and it is the intention to look at how the different type of placements would then manifest themselves in the implementation phase, and how the different modalities should be adapted to the placement itself. But of course, the whole idea behind not having separate strands presented is because we are proposing one consolidated instrument, one consolidated European solidarity core. So if we continue talking about strands, this is then not one consolidated instrument anymore. And more importantly, we need one consolidated implementation mechanism, which is what is proposed in the legal instrument. But of course, I mean, to comfort you in the implementation itself, and I think maybe this manifests itself more maybe in the recitals part. There's also a staff working document with details on the different types of placements you might want to consult. But for the occupational type of placements, so traineeships and jobs, we will make sure that some bodies, like for instance public employment services or chambers of commerce, that actually do have a lot of experience already with working with needs, with placing young people across borders. They have contacts with employers, with organizations, they have vacancies available. So we will make sure that those labor market actors are actually part of the implementation process and would be able to cooperate with the national agencies in implementing the job and traineeship placements that will be made available. So really, I think this notion of a consolidated instrument is very important for us. So despite the absence of the word strand, there are volunteering and occupational types of placements, but this is within one mechanism of implementation, I would say. The same applies, of course, for the issue of substitution of paid work with unpaid work. I mean, it's clear that in the whole monitoring and oversight process, unless you have the holistic overview over the volunteering and occupational dimensions, you actually run the risk of having even more of these overlaps and possible substitutions. So it's also in this philosophy of ensuring a certain degree of quality and a certain degree of meeting the objectives of each type of placement that we have presented a consolidated instrument and program. On the issue of quality, which is of course related, maybe to clarify, so specifically on traineeships, we are proposing here to offer only paid traineeships. So the proposal doesn't go into the direction of allowing for unpaid traineeships at all. When it comes to jobs, there's the obligation of an employment contract. And again, I think if you look at the staff working document that accompanies the proposal, we make quite an emphasis on the issue of collective agreements respecting national regulations and, of course, minimum wage conditions. So definitely we agree on the issue of quality. On confusing the core with youth unemployment measures, I mean, of course, let's not confuse things, but this program or the core is complementary to what we are doing for young people at European level. So the whole idea of having an occupational dimension to the core is to give young people the necessary skills, and I heard the word employability there before, to enable them to build up professional experience, to eventually achieve proper integration into the labor market. So we are definitely not substituting neither the Youth Guarantee nor the Youth Employment Initiative, but it's, let's say, another piece of the puzzle which should give an additional opportunity to the young people in Europe to be prepared for the labor market. And again, here I emphasize that what the Youth Guarantee is not about solidarity. We should not forget this. The Youth Guarantee is about activating needs on the labor market, no matter which sector or field. Here, there's a solidarity focus. Again, the first objective is to address societal challenges. I think this notion that Gabriella mentioned of giving, but the idea here is also that of allowing them to also gain the necessary skills by giving that they can eventually use on the labor market. And don't forget as well, there's the duration of 2 to 12 months, which of course shows that this is not at all a job guarantee, but rather a preparation for future. On the issue of inclusion, which is where I stop, I think to answer both of your questions at one go. Indeed, how will we ensure that people with a lower profile would actually be offered a job? I mean, this is again a challenge that public employment services have quite some experience with, but we also need to incentivize organizations and maybe possibly employers. So the idea is, of course, that of providing certain financial incentives for hosting organizations to engage with young people from a disadvantaged background, and as well give the possibilities for specific support to mentorship, etc., in the support that is given to the participating organizations. But I believe you can find more on this in the staff working document that accompanies the proposal as well. I stop there, but...
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. I guess you answered to some of the questions coming from the crowd. My proposal is to go for the next panel and then have more space at the end to discuss instead of maybe making another round over here. So I would like maybe to say thank you for the speakers for the first panel. And I would like to invite Victor Negrescu, who will be opening the panel, member of European Parliament, who will be opening the panel number 2. Also Andrea Casamenti from the European Youth Forum, Valentin from Young European Federalist, and also person from the Commission working on the budget. But before we get to the, I will especially present you when I get over there. Before we start with this panel, while people are moving and so on, I'm going to make the next question for your voting. As it was already mentioned several times, I think also the Commissioner Oettinger was the first one who used this expression, fresh money. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I think he was the first one to use this one. So the question is, does European Solidarity Corps need fresh money in order to reach its goals? Yes, no, I'm not sure right now. What about the fresh money? Only 23 people, 24? Are we losing people in the panel? No? I guess the only people who stay in this last panel will know how to grab this money in the European Solidarity Corps. This another 30 that didn't vote, they left, probably they will be disadvantaged a little bit on this. Anyway, there was a lot of questions about the implementation of the program, of its budget, of its goals, and so on. And this last panel is dedicated for this. Victor, please, can you open the panel and give us, let's say, also perspective on the resources and many budget from your current post in the European Parliament?
Thank you very much. My name is Victor Negrescu. I'm an S&D member in the Budgets Committee. So I've been here, I think 30 minutes already, and I noticed a lot of the discussions refer to the need to have fresh money for this new program, the European Solidarity Corps. And indeed, this is a point of view that we also share in the Budgets Committee, especially the S&D part. And we are fighting to get fresh money, or at least to allocate money from other sources towards this program. But unfortunately, I have to tell you that there are people that still want to basically take money away from other youth initiatives to allocate to this program. There have been discussions not only about Erasmus+, like it was said previously, but there have been discussions about taking money from the Youth Employment Initiative, which in my opinion is kind of strange, because for the next years, we are speaking about allocating in average about 200 million euros per year for the Youth Employment Initiative, which is not enough. So taking the money away from the Youth Employment Initiative will be something that, of course, will be against, like taking money from the Youth Guarantee or other youth programs. But in the same time, we seem to have money for other things, and I don't want to be a populist, but I have to mention that for instance, like I told you earlier, Youth Employment Initiative has allocated about 200 million euros per year, but we allocate here in the European Parliament for ICT services 170 million euros per year. So we allocate for young people the same amount that we allocate for ICT in the European Parliament. Of course, we need cybersecurity, we need ICT services, but in the same time, this shows the importance that the European Commission is giving to, and some European institutions are giving to young people across Europe, because, again, referring to ICT expenses, and I'm a promoter of ICT in general, at European institutions level, we spend €500 million per year, so twice as more as we spend for the Youth Employment Initiative. I'm referring to that because not to say that we should not allocate to ICT, but simply to underline that sometimes we have a problem of prioritization within the European institutions, and especially when we draft the European budget. Every year when we discuss about the European budget, we tend to take the previous budget from last year and do some amendments on that. We are never trying to reconstruct a little bit the budget. I know we have a framework for 5 years, but it's not about the framework. It's about the fact that we tend to reproduce the same budget and try to make small adjustments and forget about the priorities. If young people are a priority, if this program is a priority, we need to identify clear sources for this program. And I think we also have to underline why we need the money. So, of course, we need the money to make this program work, not only to pay civil servants to work on that, but also to help NGOs to get involved more in this program. But in the same time, I have another idea. We need to have a guarantee scheme for this program. What happens with a young person that goes and registers to go to a training in a foreign country, and over there the person doesn't receive what was promised to it? Who pays for the return back or for the situation of that person? So we need such solutions as well introduced for such a program, and they need to be backed financially, so the risky situation have to be also taken into consideration. Actually, all this debate about finding fresh money opens again the discussion that was often underlined by socialists and Democrats when referring to the budget. They need to have own resources at the level of the European institutions, and we need to find new ways to have fresh money, but in the same time spend wisely the money that we have. Like, for instance, 2 weeks ago, or I think 1 week ago, we had a meeting in the Budgets Committee, and we realized that we are incapable of spending the money for this year for several reasons. One of the reasons is because member states did not come with new projects, and the second reason is because the European Commission has not given the accreditation necessary for the management authorities of European funds at national level. No matter what may be the reason, the idea is that we have money now in the budget. They are thinking of new ways of using that money. I don't know how they are thinking about it. No solutions has come on the table from the European Commission. We are speaking about redistribution of funds, but maybe we should think about giving the money that we have not spent yet, that maybe we will not spend by the end of the year. This is what it has been said to us, at least. Use that money for this program. Just to finish on this point, the idea of rebranding the current programs of the European Union with new names and say that the current Commission is coming up with them, is not an idea that I share. I think if we have launched the idea of a new program, European Solidarity Corps, It has to be a new program. So we leave alone the others that already exist and work well, through Erasmus Plus most especially, and we introduce this new one and use the money that we have in a wise way. So the issue of having money is, in my opinion, not a real issue. We have the money. The idea is to convince the Commission to put it as a priority. Thank you.
That was, I guess, straight to the point, if answering to the question that we already asked to the crowd. Then we moving to the Valentin, who is coming from the Young European Federalists as well, and was also active in some other organization, like, for example, ESN and so on. So I guess you have a lot of experience when we speak about new or old programs and so on. So what is your, as an organization, your personal opinion about the European Solidarity Corps when it comes to its implementation, budget, and so on?
Right. Thank you for the invitation. I'll be speaking on behalf of my organization, but also with my own personal experience. I've been benefiting of all the possible funding for young people in Europe. I've been an Erasmus student. I've been an Erasmus intern. I've been an EVS. I've taken part in youth exchanges as well. So of course, this personal experience plays a big role in what I'm saying now. I was trying to think about what else can we say after 10 or so speakers. So I came up with this little visualization. This on the sheet is the number of young people in Europe. It's about 100 million people. It's a bit overestimated, but let's say 100 million people. Here you have a little square. This is not what we are trying to achieve with the Solidarity Corps. This is even 10 times more. What we are trying to achieve, this 100,000 people, is there. You can probably not see it on my sheet. I colored it, this very little square there. So that's 1,000th of the young people in Europe. So it is of very limited ambition. And this is what we want to achieve with the current money that is proposed by the program. What does it mean, reaching out to only this little square of the young people? I think it means three different things. Is that with this money, the demand will far exceed the offer, which will lead probably to what we've been experiencing in EVS, meaning this elite bias of the program, where people with a higher educational background have a better access to the program. The people who have less need for this program will have more access to it. This is what we're going to achieve with this money. The second thing is, I think, what about the systemic impact that we're going to reach with this money? Is it enough to actually change something about solidarity in Europe, about European citizenship, about European identity? Because this is what we want to achieve as well with this program. And we believe, as Jeff, that this is extremely important. We need to work on European identity and citizenship, and solidarity can be a very strong way. But by reaching out to only 100,000 young people, this is definitely not going to reach this systemic impact. What else can I say about the budget? I don't want to steal too much also from Andrea and the Youth Forum perspective, but one very interesting thing is that by taking money from different programs that we don't necessarily agree with this approach, at least it's sort of mainstreaming youth in different political fields. And this is something we are usually calling for in youth policies, that youth is understood in a broader perspective, not only in its little silo. So this is a very interesting perspective with the budget for the ESC. Another dimension that I want to mention is the capacities of the receiving organizations. We know that it's not going to be only NGOs. I mean, the public sector and even the private sector will also be able to receive volunteers or interns or workers, but it's most likely going to be a vast majority of NGOs. And what does it mean? It means that we also need the capacity and we need the budget to operate, to prepare these volunteers, to host them, to prepare the application. We need also administrative funding to run this program in our NGOs. We are not, most of the NGOs are not fully volunteer-based. We have staff members and staff has costs. Hosting a volunteer has a cost for our organization, and this needs to be taken into account in
in the budget of the Solidarity Corps. I think that I've seen in the press release that this admin cost is taken into account for the internship and for the jobs, but not for the voluntary placement. So this is very important for us as well. Maybe one last point is about the co-management of the program. We've seen that we've complained a lot as youth organization that we are not involved enough in the first steps, in the first stages of the development of the Solidarity Corps. We've complained that we were not involved enough in the development of the legal basis. We are somehow being involved. A lot of us are present here. We are speaking here today, which is very good. But now the next step is the most concrete step in the preparation of the program is creating the program guide. And we need to be involved. We are the actor on the ground. We are the grassroots actors, and we need to be involved in defining how it is going to work very, very concretely. All the detailed rules, the nitty-gritty rules of the program, we want to be involved. And also in this in the financial part of the program guide, is a volunteer going to receive 100 or 120 euros per month as a pocket money? I mean, this is kind of small detail that we need to discuss now, and we hope that the Commission is not preparing the program guide alone in their dark offices in DG IAC, but we hope that they're going to do that a bit more openly and with us if possible. This is very important in planning how the budget will be managed. One last concern that we have is of course, and I will let it for the youth forum for that is about the fresh money thing that everyone is mentioning. So we are taking money from Erasmus Plus. There was a few months ago, 100 million euros were promised for Erasmus Plus. It became 50 million euros, and then now 50 million euros are taken from EVS to the SC. So no new money for Erasmus Plus, and we're quite afraid that for the future of the program after 2020, this could put Erasmus Plus at risk as well in terms of the percentage of money that is allocated for youth actions. But I stop here, and I will leave Andrea from the Youth Forum to complete that. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you just turn off the microphone? Yeah, thank you. Andrea Casametti is a board member of the European Youth Forum. I know your also background on the grassroots, but this time you're speaking as a youth forum. So what is the youth forum? Since you're also co-organizer of this event, some reactions on the implementation of the program.
Thank you, Marco. So, yeah, for those of you who don't know the European Youth Forum, we are the umbrella organization of youth organizations in Europe. And the European Youth Forum welcomes this initiative, welcomes the proposal of the European Commission. We are very happy to cooperate with the different stakeholders, with the European Parliament, and of course with the European Commission. And we look forward to cooperating then more and more also in the future. Some of our main concerns have already been addressed throughout the day by previous panelists and also by representatives of different youth organizations that are here today with us. And this, I think, shows the importance of this program for us, for youth organizations, and our really request to involve us more and more, as Valentin was also saying, not just in the development, but also in the implementation and in the monitoring of the program. Now, focusing more on the money part, we welcome the fact that money that was not originally allocated to youth will indeed be invested in young people. And I'm talking about the 86.5 million from the global margin for commitments for 2018 and the unallocated margins for 2019 and 2020. So we see this as a positive aspect, and that 57.3 million will be taken from other programs and will be invested in youth. This is something, as Valentin said, that we have been claiming for, a more mainstreaming volunteering across different policies and programs of the European Union. And we do welcome the fact that volunteering after 2011 has gained more importance and that we are investing money in volunteering. But, and I know you were waiting for the but in my speech, what's important for us is that we shouldn't also forget about non-formal education, youth work. We believe that European Solidarity Corps, as they are right now, they do not really reflect the non-formal education part of EVS. And I'm thinking about the involvement of for-profit organizations, the online training for participants. And we all know, I think, very, very well that non-formal education and youth work desperately need more funding. The youth chapter of Erasmus Plus is the one with the lowest success rate and the highest number of applications. 36% of all submissions of Erasmus Plus are in the youth field, in the youth sector. And just from 2014 to 2016, there's been an increase of 60% in applications. So what I'm saying now is that we urge the different decision makers to increase investment, not just in volunteering, which we believe is a positive thing, but also to increase investment in non-formal education and in youth work. And for instance, why not to use the unallocated margins also for these very, very important aspects. I'll keep it brief. I just wanted to take advantage of the fact that the European Commission was here to ask for a few clarifications on some points of the proposal. So, for instance, since there's no quota per country for the funding, we're wondering what will be the principle used to allocate then the resources to each country, and what happens, for instance, if one country underspends then the money that has been allocated to the country. Will the money be allocated then to another country? What will happen? And then also the percentages per activity for each of the different activities. We have, in this case, a proposal. We strongly believe that the representatives of the beneficiaries of this program need to be involved, need to be part of the governance of the program. We see this as a solution also to take good decisions on how to allocate the money, and also to use objective criteria on the allocation of the resources based on the demand, based on the need of the participants. I'm done.
Thank you very much. As previously in the panels, we also have a representative of the European Commission in the panel. In this case, it's Olivier Sallet. He was working for the Commission, it says here, for 20 years, no? I guess this European Solidarity Corps, when it comes to the financing and such a tough session, would be very challenging for you. So I guess there was 2 or 3 questions that came from the panel, but take your notes. I come back to you later on. Let's pick up some other questions or first reactions when it comes to the project implementation, like, for example, outreach, funding, and some other mechanisms that have been mentioned here. Anybody from the audience? Okay, we have. I don't have any problem to pass the floor, but first I would like to see if there is some new person, and then if there is no, I give the floor to you. On this side, no? No? No hands? So it means like you understood everything, you're satisfied, and so on. Please.
It's Marguerite again from the SCAT. Just one quick question. What about the large-scale EVS? Is this going to still happen? Is it safe? Is it going to be under Erasmus or under European Solidarity Corps? Another question is about the age limit. I was just wondering, because you're mentioning network activities, does the age limit of 30 years old is going to be applied to the participant to network activities. Also mentioning that I believe that youth initiative, the local solidarity project could be clearly implemented for young people under 18, so from 15 probably or even 14. So I don't understand why this age limit of 18 years old should be applicable for all kind of activities. Probably more flexibility needs to be included into this legal basis.
Thank you. Let's pick up another one.
Very short, Marcel again. What about the assessment of the applications of European Solidarity Corps? Is it foreseen to support the agencies because of this multiplication of applications in the near future, namely first deadline of 2018? And that's it. No, the fear is that to have a big failure, we don't want European Union to fail, no? And so we are worried for.
Thank you very much. Nobody wants? There was another person there, and then I come back to Gabriele. Please.
Hello, I'm Manuel from the European Youth Forum as well. Just a quick question, because Valentin already mentioned this, but we would like to know how the Commission is planning to involve the civil society and specifically youth organizations in the creation of the program guidelines for the European Solidarity Corps. How, Valentin, I will say what Valentin already said, that this needs to be considered, and we would like to see if there's what are the projects to involve us in this document. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last one, Gabriela, and then we can come back to the panel.
Thank you. Still general comments, but more concretely on this, and I know that we're not speaking about strands anymore, but just in terms of what we've heard about 80% for the so-called volunteering part and 20% for the occupational part, is there already some idea or some plan about what will be the percentage of placement splits between those two types of European Solidarity Corps placements?
Thank you. I guess, Mr. Stella, maybe we can start with you, answering to a couple of, I already mentioned questions, like large-scale guidelines, and there were some other questions related to the funding as well. Please.
Yes, thank you, Marco. Good afternoon, all. Happy to be here with you. So I'm Olivier Sales, Head of Unit in DG Budget, and I hope it doesn't mean then automatically that I'm the bad guy. But I will try to explain you a bit how we have managed to work closely with the colleagues from DG EAC, DG Employment and SecGen to build the structure and the funding of the program. For some technical questions about the concrete implementation of the program, I will need the assistance of DG EAC colleagues, but they will join me here. I think it's a good opportunity maybe to try to bring a bit of clarity on the budget of this program and possibly to dismiss some potential misunderstandings, because sometimes we hear things which are either a bit not completely correct or potentially biased. First of all, as it was said, there was a strong commitment from the European Commission in putting together this regulation and the budget which goes together with it, to put some correct level of fresh money. And it had been said the overall amount is 86.5 million, which represent 25% of the global budget of the program. On that, I should say that it reflects the approach retained by the European Commission over the last years when we have to mobilize money and finance a new initiative. As you know, most of the activities and programs of the EU are under some severe constraints or plan over long-term programming, so it's called the multi-annual financial framework. So it's not so easy to find some fresh money. So the approach we have retained from the European Commission perspective for the last years, including for the investment program, EFSI, for Wi-Fi for Europe, or for some other big initiative, is always to try to come forward with this split of 25% of fresh money, which then, as a consequence, means that we also have to mobilize some other existing program, so that part of that money is redeployed towards this new initiative. So that was my first point. This split 75-25 is not something new. and it's something which partially reflects the budgetary constraints under which the EU budget is operating. Second point, there were some comments that we are taking away some money from Erasmus+. I would present it in a different way. The Commission has always been strongly committed towards the program, which remains one of the flagship of the EU. As you know, the total budget for the whole period, 2014-2020, is almost 15 billion, which is huge. It makes it the third most heavy envelope of all existing programs, right behind Horizon 2020 and Connecting Facility. But it's much bigger than other existing programs, which are also well known. Yes, exactly. So this commitment remains. And the other sign of this commitment was the wish to even more reinforce Erasmus+ in the proposal, which was tabled in autumn 2016, about reviewing precisely this long-term financing, which is called the midterm review, where the Commission proposed to add up 200 million more for Erasmus+. So now there is an agreement between Parliament and Council for 100 million. But it was a strong commitment that the program should remain high also in terms of funding. As regards the redeployments, it's true that we had to search a bit some other sources of funding. There was a strong wish to show that other programs are also mobilized, like you said. So there are some contributions from the Employment and Social Innovation Program, but also for the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, the European Social Fund. So all that was to say that it was a kind of joint effort also from other programs and hence DGs to contribute to the program. At the end, it's true that an important share of the 75%, but not all of it, is coming from the voluntary activities of Erasmus+, which is kind of logic since some of those voluntary activities are being reshaped and expanded in the context of this new proposal of the European Solidarity Corps. Finally, just one word of explanation and reaction to what Victor was saying. As you might know, all budgetary decisions are always the result of an arbitration. So if indeed we would ask those people in that room, do you believe that we should put more money for youth and more money for the Solidarity Corps? It's obvious that the answer is yes. But if you'd ask the same question to the expert of ICT or cybersecurity, or to the expert of rural development social funds, would you like to have more money? Obviously, they will also answer yes. So that's the difficulty of having a fairly straitjacket budget. And that's why the European Commission always has to do some arbitrations, and we do believe that the arbitrations which have been done, at least in the proposal, are the right one. Now, obviously, the proposal will be discussed between Parliament and Council, and there will be some scope for discussion, improvement, negotiations. On some other rapidly technical questions, to pick up the one on the support of national agencies, yes, of course, we'll have to review a bit the way the program is implemented, also via the national agencies, and the fees they receive from the program will be increased to reflect the proportionate increase of activities they will have following from the implementation of the program. For the other technical questions, in particular the large-scale EVS, I leave that to the colleagues from DG EAC.
Thank you very much. Please, can you give us more, as we heard, technical? I guess many people are waiting also for this in the room.
Okay, maybe I start and then my colleague Giorgio will complement me. My name is Robert Francia. I'm working in DG Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, in order to be complete and say the word youth into it. And the question concerning the large-scale EVS events, there will be implemented still or they will be implemented in the future under the European Solidarity Corps, or the intention is to implement them under the European Solidarity Corps in the similar manner, so through centralized call, how they have been implemented at the moment in European voluntary service under Erasmus+. Maybe I can continue with the second question, which goes to the management fee and support to the national agencies. Olivier already answered that we are of course cautious about the need of reinforcing the implementing bodies in the member states. At the same time, I think there are some extra further tasks which are directed to the quality of the implementation, which are on their shoulders. So we are in continuous dialogue with them, so that they are well prepared to start the implementation as soon as the legislative proposal is adopted. And last question, which I will answer and I hand over, was concerning the age limit, and the age limit particularly for the solidarity projects. As has been said, the details of implementation will be something which needs to be described in the program guide. Of course, our initial reflection was to start with the implementation for non-minors, for adults, so above 18. But we should see how in detail what kind of activities we will be implementing based on the concept note which is accompanying the regulation, and have a reflection if there is still some possibility for change. So.
Thank you. Maybe can we just stop for a moment, because Victor should also leave. Can we hear also the Commission, and then we can come back to the panel? Thanks.
Okay, very quickly. Yes, good afternoon. I'm Giorgio Guazzulli Marini. I'm the Deputy Head of the Erasmus Plus Coordination Unit. So to answer some of the other questions that have been raised. On the allocation of funds at country level. So the idea is to basically apply the same methods which have been used quite successfly in the last 20 years under the youth programs, and also the Erasmus Plus program currently. So the idea is to apply some objective criteria, like, for example, the population of a country, the distance between capitals, or the cost of living in a given country, in order to define an amount that would be provided to each country. This amount of funds, these funds will be then used by the national agencies in order to select projects that do not only support organizations in the country, but they might support a project involving organizations and participants from different countries. If the funds are not used in a given country, which is rather rare under the Erasmus Plus program, so we hope also under the European Solidarity Corps it will be the same. These funds are not lost. They come back to the Commission, to the GIAC, and they are reinjected in subsequent years in the form of different credit sources. As it regards the outputs for placements and different typology of placements, there is an annex staff working document accompanying the regulation that provides some details on the numbers of placements that are planned over these 3 years, both in the volunteering area and for traineeships and jobs. There are also other outputs that give a sense of how the resources are planned to be used. Final point on the involvement of civil society organizations and stakeholders on the definition of the program guide. There is indeed an opening. We really want to involve. We have to now reflect on the way to basically put in place a mechanism that will allow an exchange and dialogue in order to shape the program. We have to consider two elements that probably are peculiar in the European Union. First of all, We need to consider that this program guide is also a call for proposal, so we should avoid providing an unnecessary privileged position to certain organizations as compared to others. So we really, without becoming bureaucratic, we need to put it with a grain of salt. We need to get feedback from you who have an expertise in the ground, while at the same time not discussing the nitty-gritties in order to give unfair advantages to some organizations. So this is part of the reflections in the next months to really see how to best have your expertise and your ideas on board while shaping the program.
Thank you very much. Victor?
I have a reaction, to be sincere, of course, to everything that has been said, because I think we have to put everything in the context. And after hearing so many interventions, I would like to congratulate again Silvia and Brando for organizing this debate, because this surely shows that the debate wasn't open enough for the civil society, and this program wasn't transparent. And I have to remind the honorable guest from the Commission, and Mr. Sales has a very good reputation, and I'm sure sorry that I'm tough on him now. He's not to be blamed for what they're doing, but before having the debate in the plenary of the European Parliament, before generating that debate there, no one discussed about the need of having money, the need of having a program, the need of having a guide. The program was launched, and now we are trying to find solutions. So it's like, it's urgency solutions to something that was promoted, I don't know how. And again, it seems for me that we don't have a responsible for this program. Who is Mr. Solidarity Corp? Is Mr. Navracsics or Mr. Oettinger? Because we don't know who is the guy with whom we are discussing. Because I think this is also important, again, in order to have a clear view on this program and to know who we are engaging. Because again, of course, we can have different points of view on the way we allocate money. But in the same time, I have to look at the money that we spend on the new building in Luxembourg, even though the European Parliament is calling for 1 seat. So again, this is a problem of allocation and how we look at things, because again, we are all pro-Europeans here. You have to explain to us and to the member states, but we have to go back in our constituencies and explain to people and to young people why those programs are not transparent enough, why those programs are not accessible enough, why young people are not treated as they should be treated by the European Union. This is according to them. Again, you have to feed us with the exact information about everything in order to be able to really transmit the exact information to the potential beneficiaries. Because I'm going back to the Youth Guarantee Scheme. It worked very well in some member states, but it worked very bad in others. Again, so it's a fact. It's a fact that we need to work together. It's a fact that we need to involve as many people as possible. I think Mr. Casamenti didn't say that you need to involve the Youth Forum. He said that you need to involve everyone. This was his goal, It's not like not being transparent and the Youth Forum wanted to be in the front table all alone. No, it's about really opening this debate, because this program, it's a really good idea. It's, of course, a rebranding of other programs. This is my opinion, but it's a good idea. It seemed to work because people went online and register there. So it's a good idea. Let's make this work. The socialist group, in my opinion, wants to make this work. But just we need the information, and we be transparent, and even tell us about the problems so we could help. Because in the budget committee, if you don't find solutions, if you don't have the necessary support from member states, maybe we can do something in the European Parliament. Maybe we can do something back home in our constituencies. This is why we are elected here. This is why the civil society represents some groups of people. So count more on us, be more transparent, and the European Commission could really benefit from our help.
Good. We are going slowly to close the session. But before we close, of course, we still have 2 questions for you. I know maybe you are already tired or something, but just grab your phone for the last time. Really, the last time, I promise. And since we are speaking about the outreach of the program, some plan coming out of the document is 100,000 people. So the next question or the statement is, by 2020, European Solidarity Corps will reach the following number of young people. It says between 20,000 and 50,000, between 50,000 and 100,000, more than 100, or I can't say right now. Okay, so the majority of the people almost, okay, changing now. Okay, can you make your mind? So I don't, okay, so can you stop now, please? So 72% of people believe that it's going to be between 50,000 and 40% think that it's going to be between 50,000 and 100, or there are some more optimistic people. Of course, there is always a group of people that is more skeptical about the numbers. Good, thank you. And the last one, and this is not the question, we want to make a nice collage. So type 3 words that first come to your mind when you're thinking about European Solidarity Corps. It's going to be a first fancy collage of the European Solidarity Corps in the European level. Yes? I'm waiting for the collage, and then we can go for the closing remarks. You can also type one word if you cannot remember 3 words. Aha, it's coming. Okay, it's coming more. Come on, come on. More. Opa, impact. It's like, reminds me a little bit on Eurovision, this voting, so we don't know who is voting what, but it's coming out, yeah? So those are the key words: volunteering, solidarity, participation, hope, together, funding, of course, and of course solidarity is one of the key words. So just continue. Yes, just continue typing the words, but I would like to pass floor here to Sylvia. Sylvia, should we make closing remarks on this point? Or Mr. Benifei, you would like to start first? Doesn't matter for me. Please.
Allora, sorry, continue in Italian. It's not easy to make it. It is not a conclusion. Is some remarks, but this is for me an opening session, because we want to continue as group in our committee, but also I imagine with the Employee Committee to continue this dialogue with the NGOs, with the Commission, with the youth, and so we are very involved on this. And for us, this is a very central matter of this legislature. Just to begin, continuo in Italiano.
I'll continue in Italian. The first issue, I'm going to go through some bullet points. Just bullet points. I won't reopen the full debate. I won't repeat what people have said. So thank you very much. There's a very broad range of useful contributions, and I thank the Commission for sending along a big delegation. Thank you, my colleague, Mr. Negresco and Mr. Brando Benifei. And I think we'll work very hard on all the ideas that you've put forward. First of all, an important point. I think it's fairly true, but to be very frank, it's true. This initiative was launched and everyone was taken by surprise. I think the Commission was surprised by President Juncker. We have to say that. We're frank. We're all adults, even if some of you are younger than I am. But so there was a sort of it was a lightning out of a clear blue sky. Everyone was pleased, but we were very aware that we needed to define the framework for this new Solidarity Corps. So the DG of Education was taken by surprise as well. DG Budget was very much taken by surprise, but we were taken by surprise too by this idea. So that was the starting point. After that, of course, all of us, because I feel responsible on behalf of my institution, we've all cooperated as hard as possible, but in the interests of the aim, we don't want to forget about the overall aim and goal. But once we got over the shock, we realised that we had to put this European Solidarity Corps into a clear framework. It's not easy. Obviously, we won't work quickly, but we should also work well, because otherwise, to be frank, there'll be a boomerang effect. And there won't be any comprehension of really the role to be played by the NGOs, the civil society, the associations, the grassroots associations. If people go home and they don't understand and they're not able to explain to others what this is about, then we're not doing anyone any favours. So that's a very clear premise, and I'm not politicising it. We have to have a clear framework. I'm not politicising this. So first issue, I think it was true what you were saying. I'm not going to quote you, but the focus has shifted a bit, which is good, on the need to show solidarity, the need to ensure that we can coexist peacefully. We also focus on inclusion, and people are contributing their services, and also we want to get rid of the intermediaries. We want to launch an appeal directly to young people without intermediaries, so that we want to know how much interest there is, how much enthusiasm there is among young people for taking part. But after clarifying that, I think we had to make it clearly understood that there is a transitional phase. Now, we don't want to waste time, but we do need to define what the transition period is, because we're talking about a legal act which is a regulation which is immediately enforceable in the member states. So everything that's written here and everything that's not written can create problems. It's not a directive where all national parliaments then transpose that into their own national law. No, it's directly applicable as a regulation. Now, there's a question of funding. You spoke a very clear language about that. And when it comes to funding and when it comes to mechanism, we need clarity. And there's one thing that has to be clarified, and that is what the transition is from the EVS to the European Solidarity Account. We need to know how we can ensure a smooth transition. It's not a problem, it's a question. How much money will there be for the next tender procedure? And how can we make it understood that we haven't taken the money away from A, but the money hasn't arrived yet in B? We don't want there to be. We want full awareness of what's going on, and we shouldn't beat about the bush, because Erasmus is being taken from Erasmus, 75 million from Erasmus, 25 million from elsewhere, and we need to, and perhaps money can be taken from elsewhere to help young people, which is good. But we need to be careful, because if you've got the 2 years of EVS, there's about 104 million there for 2 years of the EVS, and then for the 2 years taken from Erasmus, that's 197 million taken from the Erasmus Plus for the Solidarity Corps. So we had to know that this is a transitional period when it comes to the funding. We would have liked this to be less serious, less of a blow for Erasmus, but it has to be clear that we have to commit ourselves to ensuring that there are much more funds in the future, earmarked funds just for the Solidarity Corps, not to the detriment of the Erasmus programme, because the Erasmus programme doesn't have enough money either to make ends meet. So the main battle, the most political battle, is to ensure that Europe has its own budgetary resources. And if we don't get more European resources, then it's always going to be a war amongst the poor for very few resources, for scarce resources. So that the financial battle is the biggest battle. And then secondly, there's one important demand we shouldn't forget about, and that is that there should be a political strategy in the Commission, and a political strategy for the European Union. As I don't underestimate that as an MEP. I want there to be an increase in voluntary activities and civic activities in Europe, full stop. And this is one of the instruments, one of the tools, but we have to commit ourselves, and I want the Commission to come up to the plate here. We want to improve things in member states where there are no national voluntary organisations. They've got to equip themselves. So all member states have to have voluntary activities for young people. We want to help these member states, and there has to be mutual recognition of voluntary experiences in each member state. So we need a legal framework, a European legal framework, and that will ensure that there's more voluntary activity. We don't want European funds or European activities to replace national activities. We don't want the European level to be a pretext for national governments to then not do anything and to not promote national voluntary schemes. So that's an important point. So this European Solidarity Corps shouldn't just replace national activities. We attach importance to the principle of subsidiarity. So let's ensure that you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul. But anyway, I'm clear. There's a grey area at the moment. Dr. Vella said that we don't need 2 strands, we should have 1 strand. But in the proposal, it talks about 2 strands, I think. But anyway, we're talking about voluntary activities and employment, occupation activities. So I think there might be a reason that there might be grounds for ambiguity. We've got Mr. Benifei was saying that as well. So there has to be always free provision of services, but some reimbursement as well. And there are internships which involves a training element as well. But I believe that the word job and non-profit organisations should be separated. Otherwise, there'll be confusion, and then there'll be different expectations, and the approach and the attitude will be different. So there might be, just as a French friend was saying, we might be creating a grey market, a black market for labour, a parallel grey labour market. And on the committee, we said 36,000 young people volunteered. And most of them are from the south, where there's no job, where there are no jobs. No, but that's a dreadful thing to say, because in the south of Europe there's a great tradition of voluntary activity and volunteering. So perhaps in the south people are more ready to travel in Europe and to provide their services on a volunteer basis. So let's not send out the wrong messages. There are other. So this is my appeal. And another important topic is what you were saying about ensuring that the associations follow this up very clearly. We talked about informal exchanges of views. I feel that the fact that we're leaping from the sending association, that there's this leap from the sending association to something else, which is cooperation between associations. So you've got the sending, and then you've got the arrival. But that's an important period when you can invest. And then there's the skills. There's a whole question of skills and certification of those skills, or this European Youth Pass, call it whatever you like, but that's crucial. We need a formal recognition of skills that have been acquired. And another important thing is that we shouldn't forget about this link between volunteer experience, apprenticeship, and the informal part of this, and also giving back. We've had people who've had volunteer experience, and then they've come back and they've fed back into the system. They've created their own volunteer assistants when they've come back from a volunteer experience. So it's giving back afterwards, benefiting from volunteer experience and then giving back. So here the most important motivation of this is that people get something, they get skills from this, and we have to respect that. And I also believe, I think I've understood that the organisations that already have that are part of the EVS, they are already giving out these certificates, but we need to create certainty for those people who are in the EVS. But if people have got who've had an experience, then they're credible, and I think we've got to put our trust in the young people in associations, and we've got to show that they can also be responsible for what happens to them. And an earlier charter makes it clear that there was a proposal for a different charter of responsibilities, and that's the issue of activities that will be carried out in the receiving voluntary association. So before the associations agree and they define what sort of employment activity there will be, it's not the security issue, it's a question of the substance, of the contents of the voluntary activity, and that's something that has to be set out in the Charter. So I'm winding up now. I think that our committee will do all its homework. We'll hold another hearing. I'll invite representatives of the European Forum now, and I'm going to organise that on behalf of the Cultural Committee. We'll have a rapporteur and a shadow rapporteur, but the important thing is that we cooperate with the Commission as well. And I think we need to clarify step by step and create certainty for those who are involved in these voluntary activities. I know that there's different sensitivities. There's some people who are more critical of this initiative, others less critical. I'm positive, but I'm cautious and also concerned about certain paragraphs involved in this legislation. But I want to be constructive. Thank you.
Thank you. Then we go for the last closing. Brando Benifei, they already wants to kick us out of the room.
I know. I will
yeah,
be
you are
very
informed.
brief.
Yeah. Thanks.
No problem. But Silvia has represented also me. But especially in the idea of involving more the NGOs and all the work that is being represented today in this room, especially those from the beginning have questioned us to be active in studying and proposing on this new project, from the European Youth Forum to the Jeffries here, the volunteer centers. And I think that we need to continue this dialogue, because for the public consultation, I think we got some clear indications on the fields where we need to intervene and on which it seems to me that the text that we have now is not fully compliant. So we will need to work as co-legislators with the Commission to try to do the best together with the civil society. Sorry, but I need to put also on the table the smart bomb as being a federalist like the person here. It seems to me, sorry, I need to give you my view on this, that it seems that all this debate on the resources that we have been discussing, and also the need to find the way to put the cover somehow, the small piece that we have on the budget, we probably need to push you, the civil society, the young people here, on having a bigger common European budget. 1% of the GDP is too small for doing all these things. So please, let's support those of us who think this and work on this also, because we will never find solutions to for maintaining Erasmus Plus with more resources and having new projects if the European budget is going down the drain, because as you know, there is a member state who is leaving. So maybe there will be some problems in the next negotiations on the budget. And the debate on the own resources is a bit stiff. So we need you to help us finding solutions so that these programs can be even more effective in terms of number of people that can participate, and not keep the Erasmus generation and the solidarity generation only as a small elite and a rhetorical expression for us when we go for elections. So thank you very much, and I hope we will all together with Silvia said, with Victor, continue our work.
Thank you.
And thank you to Marco. Thank you to Marco.
Yes, yes.
Fantastic.
No, thank you, Silvia. Just last things to say again, thanks to the translation, people who've been translating all this session for us, people who've been preparing this session from the S&D group, all panelists, especially Commission coming to answer these tough questions from all possible sides, and of course to you who've been active today. So stay tuned and find what is going on about European Solidarity Corps and give your opinion in order to improve maybe or put the program fully on track. Thank you very much.